Don Klekamp is really the best person I know, bar none. He was a great lawyer, great counselor to his clients, and his clients were his friends. If they weren't his friends in the beginning, they became his friends.
Literally, I've known Don since I can remember, 2, 3, 4 years old. I would come to the office on Saturdays, and that's when I first met Don. I was lucky enough to get a job here, clerked here. I will say that I was called to Don's office when I was in my 3rd year of law school. Don and 3 of the other partners offered me a job, and I was thrilled. My father was the managing partner at the time, but he stayed out of it. Beginning when I started practicing almost 50 years ago, I got to work with Don a lot. And Don was like a second father and a mentor to me. Nobody worked harder than Don Klekamp.
I've had a tough time during law school because, you see this hand? I was working at a Ford Motor Company at the end of my 1st year in law school when I got caught in a machine and it cut out the middle of my hand. So I had 3 surgeries during the 2nd and 3rd years of law school, which, as you can imagine, wasn't easy, but I made it. And because my grades were not the best in the world because of my issues, I was not a candidate for a Taft, Tinnitus, or Frost Brown Todd. So Charlie and John Meeting offered me a job, and I took it. And we built that firm from 3 to 140 lawyers a day and a staff of a total of about 250 lawyers, which I'm very, very proud of. And I'd like to think we're the best law firm in the city. John Muthing, who was a genius, we had never done a public offering before, but John steered us through that without a hitch. And so we continued to do work. We had referrals, and you just do a job, and people mention your name, and you build a reputation. And we started to hire new lawyers, and bit by bit, we built it.
I practiced over 30 years at KMK, and it's because you get treated fairly, right? You get treated with respect. You get treated, if you do your job and you service people like Don would expect. And he's not hard driving. He's just practical, reasonable, and yeah, you get treated fairly at KMK, and Don is the reason for that. He just creates opportunity for everybody. And our reputation today, like Don's not in the office every day, but we still enjoy the reputation of Keating, Muthing, and Klekamp because of Don and John Muthing and the Keating family. Don's just been a leader in that, from that perspective.
About 40 years ago, I sent a memo around to the associates, and I said in the memo, if you can't return a phone call within 10 minutes, give it to me and I'll return it. And that made a significant impact on them, I think, and they joke about it. So, I mean, there are plenty of lawyers in this town, and if you don't provide a service and promptly when the client expects it and quality service, they're going to go somewhere else.
Don Klekamp told everybody, if you're too busy to answer those phone calls that day, you come and put them on my desk and I'll answer them before I go home. And that's who he was. It was client service, it was first hand touching. That was Don Klekamp, and I have never forgotten that. Clients are everything, and we owe everything to them. And I think that really makes us unique in a law firm, especially as firms get bigger and in diverse cities. We are still a family, and that's really important to me, and that comes from Don.
The credit really goes to my dad and Don, who sort of set the stage. The client service and the client expectations have probably only gotten higher, and so if you're not interested or not willing to make those sacrifices, you're probably not going to be as successful as as Don was. And he made a lot of sacrifices and worked his tail off.
He would tell you that he was a poor boy from Carthage who didn't have 2 dimes to rub together. Grew to be a very successful lawyer, mayor of Indian Hill. He did the wedding ceremony for Neil Armstrong. And so in our Cincinnati community, he really rose from nothing to the pinnacle. And I don't think he knows that. I don't think he's ever sat back and said, look what I have done. I think he's said, look what I've been blessed with. That's Don. And one of my best friends.
For a poor boy coming out of Carthage, making his way into law school, to have this honor, it's been a blessing.